How many times have you swallowed your own dreams because you thought you didn't have enough to begin with? Money, support, security. We always wait to have everything in place before taking the first step. And then life just slips by. But what if I told you there are people out there who started with absolutely nothing and still made it? Not by miracle, not by luck, but by an invisible force so many forget: determination. Today, you'll hear a story that burns, with pain, with loss, but also with rebirth. A story that proves failure isn't the end. It's just the invitation to those who choose to go beyond. If you've ever thought of giving up, stay with me. This story was made for you. Dreaming is easy. It costs nothing. But making a dream come true, that takes more than just wanting it. Raphael learned this early on, as a teenager who looked up at the sky and imagined a different future. His grandfather, a man with calloused hands and a steady voice, often said, "If you don't water your dream with effort, it'll dry up and die." That phrase stuck with him like a tattoo, because deep down, Raphael knew dreaming is free, but making it real is expensive. It costs time, sweat, and a daily dose of courage. He had no inheritance, no connections, no lucky breaks, just hunger for a better life. While most people his age searched for shortcuts, Raphael chose the long, hard road, the path of trying. He started with what was available: an old bicycle, a head full of ideas, and the kind of belief that doesn't ask for permission. It wasn't about heroism, it was about necessity. But it was also a choice, and that choice, humble as it seemed, made all the difference. The neighborhood he lived in was ignored by most, but Raphael saw potential where others saw decay. He woke before the sun and went to sleep dreaming of a better tomorrow. The ground beneath him was rough, but his will was firmer. Every stumble became fuel to keep going. And it was in that makeshift beginning, surrounded by dust and doubt, that something greater was born: the decision to turn dreams into reality, even when everything said otherwise. The courage to start. That's one of the purest forms of entrepreneurship. Raphael, always observant, noticed something in his neighborhood: very few options for a simple, fast breakfast. That's when an audacious idea hit him: selling fresh bread from his doorstep. No money, no safety net, no guarantees. Just a sense that it was now or never. Most people would have laughed, called it crazy. He called it opportunity. Knowing he needed a supplier, Raphael knocked on the door of Mr. Augusto's bakery, a man known for his caution and rigid attitude. Raphael had no cash, but he had words. Speaking from the heart, and with a determined look, he asked for 1 week of trust. He promised to sell the bread and pay everything back with profit. Augusto paused, skeptical, but eventually said yes. Sometimes belief awakens in someone when they see that undeniable fire in another's eyes. The very next morning, before the rooster even crowed, Raphael had set up a simple table, laid out a clean cloth, and flashed a hopeful smile. He called out in the streets, served with kindness, listened to feedback, and learned fast. He wasn't just selling bread, he was selling renewal, possibility. And each loaf he sold wasn't just income. It was another brick laid in the foundation of a bigger story, one he was writing with his own hands. When the week came to an end, Raphael showed up at the bakery even earlier than agreed. He handed over the money, every last cent, along with a heartfelt thank you. He didn't ask for discounts or more time. He kept his word as if it were a signed contract. And in that simple act, he built something many take years to earn: trust. Mr. Augusto, once doubtful, now looked at him with respect, because a firm word holds more weight than any document. That moment marked a turning point. Word spread quickly among local shop owners. There was a young man in town who was serious, hard-working, and kept his promises. People who had barely noticed him before were now asking, "Who's that bread guy?" Raphael's name started circulating. Not because of flashy marketing, but because of merit. And in the business world, reputation is powerful currency, possibly the most valuable of all. Little by little, he realized he wasn't just selling a product. He was shaping an image. That first honest transaction opened doors. Other suppliers became more flexible, loyal customers spread the word, and even competitors began to respect him. Raphael learned firsthand that the foundation of real, lasting growth is trust. And once you plant trust, the world starts to offer you opportunity in return. Raphael realized that although sales were going well, he relied too heavily on others. That didn't sit right with him. One day, staring at the old oven in his aunt's kitchen, an idea sparked. What if he learned to bake his own bread? It would cut costs, give him control over quality, and open space for creativity. But the process was far from easy. The first loaf came out rock hard. The second undercooked. The smell of failure hung in the air, but his will to improve burned stronger. He dove in head first, studied recipes, sought out tips from veteran bakers, watched tutorial videos late into the night. There were days when exhaustion nearly won, days when the dough felt like it was mocking him. Still, Raphael pushed through. Every failed attempt taught him something new. He discovered that the entrepreneurial journey demands humility to fall short, and grit to keep going. Perfection isn't born overnight. It's carved out through relentless persistence. Over time, his bread began to improve, in flavor, texture, and presentation. Customers noticed. "Did you make this yourself?" they'd ask, eyes wide. He'd nod, a little shy but proud. That old oven, once forgotten, had become a symbol of transformation. Raphael didn't just pick up a new skill. He proved to himself that overcoming obstacles is less about talent and more about refusing to stop trying. And unknowingly, he was shaping more than a recipe. He was shaping his own future. In the beginning, Raphael did everything on his own. But over time, his dedication began to inspire those around him. His mother, who had quietly watched from the sidelines, started helping with ingredients. His younger sister, always curious, began wrapping the loaves with care. Without even noticing, what had started as a solo effort turned into a shared mission. The family kitchen became a small production center, filled with laughter, flour, and dreams stitched together. This union wasn't out of duty, but admiration. Watching Raphael wake up early, wrestle with the heat of the oven, and celebrate each sale sparked something in them: pride. They realized this wasn't just about selling bread, it was about building something meaningful together. His mother started testing new recipes. His father, though tired, fixed the old cart. A neighborhood hustle became a family legacy in the making. More than profit, what grew was the bond between them. Sitting down for dinner at the end of a long day, knowing each person had played a part, it gave every meal a deeper flavor. The business became a rhythm, but also a bridge, closing gaps, connecting generations. Raphael learned that family support isn't just practical help, it's emotional fuel. And with that foundation, he felt more certain than ever he could go even further. Everything was going well, until a new bakery opened just a few blocks away. It was sleek, modern, and well-funded. The owner, Marcelo, was young, charming, and armed with sharp branding. Within weeks, Raphael saw his sales plummet. Longtime customers began to drift away. His first reaction? Disbelief. Then came the doubt. Did I come this far just to lose it all? But instead of folding, Raphael chose to listen. He started talking to former clients. No pride, no resentment, just curiosity. He asked what they liked about the new place and what he could improve. Some feedback was tough to hear. Others came with gold, suggestions, ideas, encouragement. He got to work. Painted his cart, upgraded packaging, created combo deals, and even added homemade cakes to the menu. His appearance changed, his offerings expanded, and more importantly, he began evolving once again. Sometimes pain is the spark that fuels innovation. Bit by bit, people came back. Not because he tried to mimic the competition, but because he reclaimed what made him unique. There was something Raphael offered that Marcello's fancy bakery couldn't. Human warmth, genuine interaction, bread that came with a story. He realized that competition is part of the game, but how you respond is what defines you, and Raphael still had plenty left to show the world. Just when Raphael thought things had settled, disaster struck. One night, a faulty wire sparked a fire in the kitchen. Flames tore through his workspace, destroying ingredients, tools, and months of effort. By the time he arrived, smoke filled the air, and ashes covered the floor. For a few minutes, he just stood there, frozen. It felt like the universe was asking, "So, are you giving up now?" But giving up had never been an option for him. In the days that followed, eyes still heavy with grief, Raphael started again, from the ground up. He salvaged what he could: one baking tray, a memorized recipe, and a fire inside him stronger than the one that took everything. He knocked on doors, asked for help, not with pity, but with purpose. Some people turned away, but others leaned in. That's when he realized adversity doesn't just test your strength. It reveals the strength of your connections. Raphael rallied whoever he could. Friends, neighbors, old customers. Instead of shrinking, he expanded. Not with money, but with meaning. He didn't just show what he'd lost. He showed what he still had, the will to rise. And in that chapter, he discovered what resilience really means. It's not about enduring the hit. It's about using the pain to rebuild. Not the same as before, but better, bolder. And right when he needed it most, something powerful began to rise: the community. Just when Raphael least expected it, the entire neighborhood began to rally around him. Mrs. Elza, the corner store owner, donated bags of flour. Mr. Claudio, who barely ever said good morning, showed up with planks of wood and nails. Even the teens on the block helped repaint the new cart. What started as a lone effort turned into a collective movement. People who once watched from a distance now felt part of the dream. And that kind of support? You can't buy it. The rebuild happened fast, not because there was money, but because there was heart. Every loaf sold carried a piece of everyone's story. One customer said, "This bread tastes like struggle." Another, with tears in his eyes, called it the flavor of hope. Raphael realized something crucial. When someone gives their all, it inspires others. And when you inspire, you connect. The community no longer saw him as just a vendor. They saw him as a symbol of courage. That changed everything. Not only did the business come back, it grew. But more than that, a new feeling took root: belonging. Raphael wasn't alone anymore. Every customer felt like part of the win. And here's the beautiful twist. When one person's dream becomes everyone's cause, it stops being fragile. It becomes legacy. And Raphael, without even knowing it, had just begun to build his. Over time, Raphael's story began to spread beyond the neighborhood. A local newspaper picked it up, and soon, word reached City Hall. One morning, an unexpected invitation arrived. He would be honored in a public ceremony for his example of perseverance, hard work, and community impact, the letter read. Raphael was speechless, not out of vanity, but disbelief. He had never imagined that his quiet, daily struggle could echo so far. On the day of the ceremony, the town square was packed. Longtime customers, new friends, children who shouted his name. They were all there. The mayor called him a symbol of resilience. But what struck Raphael most was the applause from everyday people. Those who had seen him start with nothing but a cart and an idea. The recognition wasn't just about well-made bread. It was about the grit, the rebuilding, the unwavering refusal to give up. As he walked home, Medal in his pocket, eyes a bit misty, Raphael looked at the old, repaired oven and understood something deep. When you walk your path with honesty, the world eventually notices. The size of the stage doesn't matter. What matters is the firmness of your steps. That moment didn't change who he was, but it confirmed the value of what he had built. And in truth, it wasn't an ending. It was just one more step up the mountain. With time, Raphael came to understand something that many people never truly grasp. Nothing in life comes for free. Not respect, not success, not love. Everything worth having must be earned, with patience, with persistence, and, above all, with authenticity. The pain he felt along the way wasn't punishment. It was education. Every setback carried a lesson, and every small victory was a quiet celebration of his faith in moving forward. He realized the world doesn't just reward talent, it rewards consistency. The people who wake up early even when they're tired, who try again even when they're unsure, who believe even when nothing is certain, those are the ones who build something that lasts. Raphael didn't have extraordinary gifts or shortcuts. What he did have was a stubborn will to succeed, and that will became the invisible engine that pushed his story forward. Today, when he looks back, he feels nothing but gratitude. Not because everything went perfectly, but because everything shaped him. And if he could offer one piece of advice to someone starting out, it would be this. Don't wait for ideal conditions. Start. With fear, with little, with doubt. But start. Because dreams only truly belong to those who refuse to give up on them. And success, despite what people say, isn't a destination. It's a consequence. Now that you've seen what's possible with effort, courage, and a bit of stubbornness, let me ask you, how many of your dreams are still sitting in a drawer, waiting for the perfect moment? How many times have you let fear of failure be louder than your desire to try? The story you just watched isn't about luck, it's about choice. And if he could do it, why not you? Are you really going to keep waiting for everything to be in place? Or are you going to start with what you have? Life doesn't change with wishful thinking. It changes with action. So if this story inspired you, drop a comment below. What's the one dream you're still chasing? Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and share this video with someone who needs a push to begin again. You're not alone. And sometimes, all it takes is one real story to remind you there's still time.